Imagine it is the middle of the summer in 2026. Like the World Cup is playing in the background. You're trying to figure out if you need an umbrella for your afternoon commute.
Yeah.
And just a few states over, a local utility company is quietly trying to restart a dormant nuclear reactor.
Wow. Yeah.
Right, just to power the artificial intelligence that helps you, I don't know, draft your emails and plan your vacation. Welcome to this deep dive.
It's just a staggering contrast, isn't it? I mean, we are really experiencing this moment where all the invisible digital conveniences of our lives are colliding head-on with heavy industrial physical reality.
Yeah, and that collision is exactly what we're focusing on for you today. We're pulling back the curtain on a very specific time capsule. It's a comprehensive 4 p.m. news brief published by the Daily Tech Reader on Tuesday, July 7, 2026.
Right, the July 7th snapshot.
Exactly. And our mission today is to cut through this massive wall of news. I mean, they cover everything from global stock markets to regional weather. We want to extract the defining narrative of this exact moment in time.
Okay.
Let's unpack this.
Yeah, because when you lay all these data points out on a table, a unified theme immediately emerges. It's so clear. We have completely exited the hype cycle of next-generation technologies, that period of awe and experimentation.
Oh, yeah, the wild promises phase.
Exactly. That is over. Instead, every sector of the economy is entering an era defined by one concept, and that is operational maturity. We are now knee-deep in the rigorous, highly complex execution of actually making this stuff work.
Right, the messy reality. And to truly understand this era of operational execution, I think we have to start with the most dramatic shift in the business world right now, which is how artificial intelligence is actually being deployed.
It's not a shiny new toy anymore.
No, not at all. Looking at this July 7 snapshot, it is foundational business infrastructure now. But the question is, how are these massive Fortune 500 companies actually measuring if this infrastructure is worth the insane cost?
Well, what's fascinating here is the absolute ruthlessness of the new purchasing metrics. For the last few years, companies were buying AI just to say they had it.
Right, just for the press release?
Yeah, it was a novelty. But today, enterprise deployments are expanding rapidly because the metric for success is strictly tied to productivity gains and, ultimately, profitability. The market is brutally punishing companies that just offer cool tech.
Wow. Brutally punishing.
Oh, yeah. And they are heavily rewarding those that demonstrate a profitable, mathematically sound AI strategy. It's moved from look at this cool text generator to, hey, does this tool optimize our logistics network enough to increase our quarterly margin by 2%?
I am going to push back on that a bit, though, because measuring productivity in a logistics network, that's pretty straightforward.
Sure, yeah.
But the snapshot specifically highlights AI coding assistants reshaping software engineering. Are we saying these tools are actually making developers twice as fast? Or is this just companies trying to replace junior coders with cheaper software?
That's a great question. It's actually less about replacing the human and more about fundamentally changing what a software engineer actually does all day.
Okay, how so?
Well, the integration of these AI coding assistants is so routine now that developers rely on them daily. Think of it this way. For decades, a massive chunk of a programmer's time was spent writing boilerplate code.
Ugh, the tedious stuff.
Right, or trying to untangle decades-old, undocumented legacy systems. And AI assistants are essentially doing that grunt work now. So the developer transitions from being a typist to being an editor and a systems architect.
So they are operating at a higher level.
Exactly. Taking that tool away today would completely disrupt normal business operations. It's that deeply embedded.
It reminds me less of the early days of electricity and more of the construction of the interstate highway system.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Yeah, because when we started building highways, it wasn't just about the cars anymore. It was about eminent domain, pouring millions of tons of asphalt, mapping routes, and just completely changing how goods moved across the country.
We are definitely building the digital highway system right now.
We are. But building that highway comes with a massive human toll. This snapshot points out that skills-based hiring is expanding rapidly, and that continuous learning is the ultimate competitive advantage.
Yeah.
But honestly, that sounds incredibly exhausting for the average worker.
It is exhausting. That is the harsh reality of this operational shift. The psychological burden of employability has shifted entirely onto the worker.
Wow, yeah, shifted onto the worker.
Yeah. In the past, a traditional university degree was essentially a lifetime guarantee of foundational competence. Employers trusted the credential. But when AI can handle the baseline cognitive heavy lifting, that static degree from a decade ago loses its premium.
So you essentially have to treat your career like a software subscription that constantly needs an update patch.
Precisely. Employers are looking for specific, demonstrable competencies in complex problem solving and system management. If the tools you use to do your job update every 3 weeks, your ability to adapt is everything.
Unlearning old habits, basically.
Right. Unlearning and learning new workflows is the only thing keeping you relevant.
Man, that's heavy. And as we build these massive digital brains into every company, we really have to talk about the physical cost. We throw around the term the cloud constantly.
Oh, all the time.
It sounds so weightless, so ethereal, like data is just floating in the sky. But the deep irony of this invisible digital economy is that it requires an unbelievable amount of concrete, steel, and water to exist.
It really does. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this tension between the digital and the physical is why long-term infrastructure investment is the defining story of the U.S. economy right now.
Because you can't have one without the other.
Exactly. You cannot scale AI without scaling the physical environment that houses it. Data center construction is just booming across multiple states right now. It is a massive driver of capital investment.
But wait, how sustainable is that? The Midsummer News Brief notes that electricity demand is already elevated across the nation, and these AI data centers are actively driving long-term electricity demand.
They are incredibly power hungry.
Right. We are pushing the physical limits of our power grids. Aren't we going to hit a wall where we simply cannot generate enough electricity to power the next generation of AI?
Well, that is the multi-trillion-dollar bottleneck right there. And it comes down to a concept called baseload power. Traditional data centers, and especially these new AI training facilities, they do not operate on a 9-to-5 schedule.
They're always on.
They run at maximum capacity 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They require a massive, unwavering, continuous flow of electricity, and that is baseload power.
Which means intermittent sources like wind or solar aren't enough on their own. I mean, if the wind stops blowing, a data center running critical healthcare infrastructure can't just power down for the afternoon.
Exactly. Utilities realize they are trying to power a 21st century digital megacity using a 20th century electrical grid. That is why they are heavily investing in grid modernization right now.
So what does that look like on the ground?
The snapshot outlines a massive renaissance in energy infrastructure. We are seeing massive deployment of battery storage, continued investment in renewables, and crucially, a renewed investment in nuclear energy.
Nuclear energy, really?
Yeah. Nuclear is one of the only ways to get that massive, consistent baseload power without the carbon emissions.
That is wild. The push for artificial intelligence is directly forcing a revival of nuclear engineering. And this physical plumbing also includes the microchips themselves, right?
Oh, absolutely. Semiconductor manufacturing is highlighted in the brief as a national strategic priority with exceptionally strong demand.
Which naturally brings us to the global chessboard. Because whoever controls the silicon and whoever can generate the most power ultimately controls the future of the technology.
Absolutely. The scramble for infrastructure and AI leadership isn't happening in a vacuum. It is deeply, deeply entangled with global geopolitics.
And looking at the geopolitical landscape outlined in this snapshot, and taking these facts strictly at face value without taking any political stance here, the tension is incredibly obvious.
It's everywhere.
Yeah. Governments are actively trying to balance economic growth with national security. AI leadership is explicitly a national security priority now.
Because technology is diplomacy at this point. The international realities reported here are stark.
Right. The brief mentions ongoing military operations between Ukraine and Russia.
Yes, with NATO heavily focused on European security. And at the same time, developments in the Middle East are being closely monitored by energy markets, which makes total sense.
Because of the oil and energy reliance.
Exactly. If your domestic tech boom relies on keeping energy costs stable, any friction in the Middle East immediately threatens your entire technology roadmap.
The snapshot actually includes a sidebar from May and June that perfectly illustrates this. It notes a tentative U.S.-Iran peace agreement regarding the Strait of Hormuz.
Which is huge.
It really is. That is one of the most critical choke points for global oil shipping. Stabilizing that region is a direct requirement for maintaining the energy stability needed for this massive infrastructure boom we just talked about.
But, the physical vulnerabilities aren't just overseas. Another sidebar from June notes that authorities uncovered a 2,000-foot drug tunnel connecting Mexico to the U.S.
A 2,000-foot tunnel, that's massive.
It is, and I just find this juxtaposition fascinating. Nations are racing to build multi-billion-dollar quantum computers and deploy advanced AI frameworks to secure their digital borders.
But they're still digging in the dirt.
Exactly. Traditional low-tech physical security challenges, like someone physically digging a tunnel in the dirt, they just remain ever present.
It is the ultimate asymmetry. And speaking of advanced technologies, the scientific leaps happening in the background of all these geopolitical tensions are staggering.
Oh, the science section is incredible.
Right. NASA is actively planning the Artemis missions, meaning we are returning to the moon. Fusion energy research is maintaining steady momentum. Quantum computing is progressing.
And AI is acting as the primary accelerant for all of this. It isn't just a business tool for supply chains anymore. It is a fundamental instrument for scientific discovery.
Like in a lab setting.
Yeah. In biotechnology and material science, researchers are using AI to simulate millions of molecular combinations in days, something that would take human scientists decades to test in a physical lab. It is accelerating the pace of human innovation itself.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. With innovation moving at this breakneck speed, our legal and regulatory systems are completely buckling under the pressure.
They can't keep up.
Exactly. One of the sidebars highlights that on June 1st, Florida became the first state to sue OpenAI over ChatGPT safety failures.
Which, interestingly, is a critical indicator of operational maturity.
Wait, how so? A state suing a tech giant sounds like a breakdown, not maturity.
Well, think about what happens when a tool moves from a novelty to critical infrastructure. If a chatbot gives you a bad recipe for pancakes, it is a funny glitch, right?
Right, you just have bad pancakes.
Yeah, but if a state integrates a language model into its municipal emergency response system, and that system hallucinates a faulty evacuation route during a hurricane, resulting in a safety failure, that is a massive legal liability.
Ah, I see. So the lawsuit represents the end of the move fast and break things era.
Precisely. Governance frameworks aren't just maturing in theoretical academic papers anymore. They are being forged through aggressive legal battles and state-level actions.
That makes sense.
When AI becomes foundational infrastructure, society demands accountability. It is messy, sure, but establishing legal liability is a mandatory step in integrating any new technology into civil society.
Which also means cybersecurity is no longer just an IT problem. It is a catastrophic business continuity issue.
It's an everything problem now.
Yeah, like if an AI agent is routing your physical supply chain and an attacker poisons that AI's data model, they aren't just stealing passwords, they are shutting down physical trucks.
And that is exactly why the snapshot notes cybersecurity teams are maintaining heightened vigilance. Hiring in cybersecurity is incredibly resilient right now because the attack surface has expanded.
It's not just digital servers anymore.
Right, it has expanded to the core operational logic of society itself.
This all feels incredibly heavy. We're talking about global energy grids, nuclear power, international lawsuits, and the entire rewriting of the labor market.
It is a lot to process.
It is. But zooming out from the massive data centers, this July 7 news brief also gives us a profound look at the everyday human experience. How does this high-tech maturation actually impact our daily lives? Let's look at health and medicine.
A great example.
The brief mentions AI is advancing drug discovery and precision medicine, which tailors treatments to your exact genetic profile. That is a miracle. But right next to that, it notes that physical healthcare workforce shortages persist.
Right. This raises an important question about the hard limits of automation. We can leverage an AI supercomputer to discover a novel cancer treatment in record time. But when that treatment arrives at the hospital,
You still need a person there.
you still need a human nurse to administer the AV. You still need a human doctor to sit at the edge of the bed and deliver the diagnosis with empathy. You need human technicians to physically maintain the hospital equipment.
You cannot abstract human empathy or physical caregiving into the cloud. High-tech solutions are slamming into deeply human bottlenecks.
And we are seeing a similar dynamic in our cultural updates. There was so much panic that AI would completely replace human creativity.
Oh yeah, the death of art.
Right. But the source explicitly points out that technology is currently complementing creative expression rather than replacing it. Independent creators are thriving. Music production is evolving. But the core human desire to make art is intact.
People still want to create.
Yes. Podcast audiences remain remarkably strong. People are still seeking out human connection and human storytelling.
People are still out there living very normal, very human lives. The brief captures this perfect slice of summer. People are traveling for vacations, summer movie attendance and live entertainment are healthy.
The World Cup is dominating global sports.
Exactly. Bringing millions of people together around physical, athletic competition.
It proves that while our back-end infrastructure is being radically transformed by machine learning, the anchors of human culture remain stubbornly unchanged. We still want to gather in a stadium and watch a soccer match.
Even the weather report in this brief grounds us. It notes hot summer conditions in the southwest, afternoon thunderstorms rolling across the central U.S., warm and humid in the southeast, and pleasant, comfortable weather on the coasts.
The weather is the ultimate physical reality check.
Right. And this actually brings up a technical term that gets thrown around a lot right now: edge computing. If a severe afternoon thunderstorm in the central U.S. knocks out the regional internet infrastructure, a local hospital's AI diagnostics can't afford to lose connection to a server hundreds of miles away in Virginia.
Exactly, and that is what edge computing solves. Instead of sending data all the way to a central cloud to be processed, the computing power is placed locally, on the edge of the network.
So literally inside the building.
Right inside the hospital or right inside a self-driving car. So even if the storm takes out the broader connection, the critical infrastructure keeps running.
Because it doesn't matter how advanced our algorithms get, we all still have to deal with the physical weather, and we still have to build our tech to survive a thunderstorm.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean? If we synthesize this entire snapshot of July 2026, we see a profound tension between our high-tech, AI-driven future and our very grounded physical human present. We're building systems that can simulate molecular structures in seconds, yet we are still constrained by workforce shortages, geopolitical border disputes, and the physical limits of our concrete and steel power grids.
The defining narrative here is that the hard work has arrived. We are in the era of operational excellence. The themes dominating the economy are steady investment, disciplined execution, and the incredibly complex, unglamorous work of integrating digital intelligence into physical reality.
And for you, the listener, navigating this landscape means understanding your place in an economy that has stopped caring about hype and only cares about execution.
In a world shifting entirely to skills-based hiring, your greatest assets are your curiosity, your adaptability, and your willingness to unlearn old methods. The tools will inevitably keep changing, but your ability to thoughtfully apply those tools to real-world friction points is what will ensure you thrive.
Which brings us back to where we started. We talked about how AI is transitioning from a magical novelty into invisible infrastructure, much like the interstate highway system or municipal plumbing. It is just becoming part of the walls of our society.
It really is.
But that leaves us with a final thought to mull over today. When a technology becomes so incredibly reliable and so pervasive that we stop noticing it entirely when it truly becomes invisible, what happens to our awareness?
That's a profound question.
If we stop questioning the algorithms that route our traffic, filter our news, or decide our medical treatments, what human biases or systemic blind spots might get permanently hard-coded into our societal plumbing the moment we start taking it for granted? It's something to think about the next time you flip a switch and just expect the light to turn on.